Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania alternate ending, deleted scenes, alternate post-credit scene video. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get everything. There's going to be so much stuff happening really soon. Marvel has started talking about doing Ant-Man 4 even, and what's happening in Avengers Kang Dynasty with all these different variants of Kang from the Council of Kangs. Of course, I will do videos for everything. Like the entire second post-credit scene was meant to set up Loki Season 2, where we'll see a bunch more Kang variants. There's supposed to be 6 episodes total of Loki Season 2, just like Season 1, and Kang is supposed to appear in about half of those. They didn't say which episodes exactly, but I'm assuming he'll at least be in the last couple of episodes. Careful for spoilers for the movie if you haven't seen it yet, because we have to talk about the end and how they would have originally changed it with a bunch of this other footage, including some of the really weird variants of Kang. Originally, at the end of the movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp would have gotten stuck in the quantum realm, like they wouldn't made it back through the portal that Kang tried to make it through himself, with Cassie Lang being forced to find a way to bring them back. Like that was what they were setting up with her whole beacon. I could have found you in no time flat if I'd had this years ago. The special technology she created using Hank Pym's journals and his help, like Hank Pym helped her build this, was meant to be like a Hubble telescope, but for the quantum realm. So in addition to a couple other things, she would have also on the side been searching for them for the next couple of years until Avengers Kang Dynasty, because they were always going to have Ant-Man and the Wasp in Avengers Kang Dynasty. One of the reasons why the writer said that he changed this at the end is because it felt so similar to the events of the last movie. Like there were a bunch of little kids in the theaters and the screenings that were like, wait a minute, that's like the end of the last movie. He got stuck in the quantum realm again. Literally, that's the only reason why they didn't get stuck at the end of this movie. Another deleted scene would have had Cassie Lang looking through Hank Pym's journals at the end of the movie, a bit of an alternate post-credit scene or an alternate ending at the very end of the film, where she's continuing to look through Hank Pym's journals and would have found a comic book Easter egg for the plan to form the Young Avengers, and they would have called it the Avengers Protocol. In the comics, that was Vision's plan for forming a new Avengers team, but they would have used this more for Young Avengers. I think they'd originally intended on teasing them a little bit more in this movie, and they just pulled some of that out because the movie itself was quite a bit shorter than some of the other recent Marvel Phase 4 movies, even though this is meant to be a Marvel Phase 5 movie. There was a ton of stuff that they deleted out of this movie, like it was like a full 3 hours plus. Then probably one of the biggest alternate endings is they would have been less ambiguous about Kang the Conqueror surviving at the end of the movie, making it clear that he would be a much bigger threat to the Avengers and the Council of Kangs in Avengers Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. I've talked about this in my previous videos too. At the end of the movie, you just see him get sucked into the multiverse engine, but you don't see his body. You don't actually see what happens to him. Off screen, you see this big explosion, and that's it. Usually that's code for he probably survived because you didn't see a body, otherwise they would have shown you everything happening on screen. Like you would have seen his dead body lying there and they would have checked it, like, oh, yep, definitely dead. There was another alternate ending with Bill Murray's Krylar. He had a much bigger part in the end of the movie, helping them defeat Kang. He would have also turned good again. Like in the movie, they imply that he used to be good working with the Freedom Fighters. He had this relationship with Janet Van Dyne over the past 30 years that she'd been stuck there. They mostly play that for comedy and then imply after she escaped, then Kang was able to turn him to the dark side, so to speak, and he served him. At the end of the movie, Bill Murray's character was supposed to turn good again, help the Freedom Fighters again, take down Kang, and they would have been more ambiguous about his ending so that he could have come back during Ant-Man 4, which Paul Rudd and the other characters have talked about doing. Also, they had scenes where MODOK wound up surviving the end of the movie and would continue to show up as a character in the MCU. They could still do that, but it'd have to be an alternate version of MODOK showing up. It's not necessarily an alternate ending because they didn't film this in the movie, but Michael Douglas was asked about Ant-Man 4, like, are you coming back to do more Ant-Man movies? And he's like, yes, sure, if they kill me.
If they did a 4th, would you come back?
As long as I could die.
You may remember years ago when they were back at Comic-Con promoting the original Ant-Man movie. I think it was the same time they were promoting Avengers Age of Ultron. And he said some of the weirdest stuff, like the most WTF stuff coming out of his mouth.
They call that a Comic-Con virgin.
Yeah. I'm a Comic-Con virgin. Don't shout pop the cherry at him. That's disgusting. It's a human being. How dare you?
That's what it was.
Yeah.
I'm popping my Comic-Con cherry.
This is it. We were also popping your cherry as well. Super awkward.
I popped enough cherries.
That's one of the funnier things about having these older, more established, more powerful stars. They'll just say anything that pops up in their mind no matter how messed up it is. There have been rumors about them killing off Hank Pym during Avengers Kang Dynasty, like he'll be some big WTF death. They're definitely going to kill off a bunch of people in Kang Dynasty. Then here's some more cool Easter eggs for the post-credit scene with the Council of Kangs. Obviously, they're going to be another big threat heading into Loki Season 2. That'll be the next place that we see them. I'm not expecting to see any Kangs during the Secret Invasion series because those episodes are coming before Loki Season 2. The whole post-credit scene with the Victor Timely variant of Kang was meant to set up Loki Season 2. I've already done a much longer video about that, so I'll post links at the end of this and down in the description below. But generally, most of the different variants of Kang that we see all over the place in the Marvel movies, the Marvel Disney Plus series the next couple of years, will be played by Jonathan Majors. Like, you'll visually be able to see his face on screen, with a few exceptions. Some of them look more alike than others. They said that he actually put on 20 different costumes when they were filming this post-credit scene. In the comics, the number of main variants of Kang, like the most powerful versions, is much smaller. That's why I say the Council is usually led by the most powerful variants that we see, like the Rama Kang, Immortus, the Scarlet Centurion, and probably the Kang the Conqueror variant that was exiled. He was probably one of the 4 leaders of the Council. Because at the end of Loki Season 1 and He Who Remains Citadel, there were 4 statues of the Timekeepers meant to represent the 4 leaders of the Council of Kangs, and one of them was broken. That was the exiled Kang that we saw in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. The He Who Remains variant of Kang that was on the Council of Kangs was just another random Kang that wound up winning the Kang Multiverse War in the first version of events, like the first Multiverse War. He killed the Council and got rid of all their timelines. But then when Sylvie killed him, it rebooted everything and it freed all the other timelines to rise again, and the Council of Kangs rose up again. So it wasn't like one of these different Kangs turned into He Who Remains. But just talking about some of the weirder Kang variants and some cool Easter eggs and connections across some of the recent Marvel movies. They're calling this one Lizard Kang, even though there's another one that looks kind of like a reptile right next to him here. Lizard Kang isn't his name from the comics, he's just meant to be a random Kang from another universe from this particular comic book panel, like he's based on this comic book panel. But you can see that he's meant to be like a lizard with the scaled skin. And he's not played by Jonathan Majors, like this is another actor underneath the makeup. The cool connection to the Spider-Man movies, particularly Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man movies, is that this Kang is meant to be from a timeline where the lizard in the Amazing Spider-Man movies was successful in evolving everyone into lizards. They made a joke about that during Spider-Man No Way Home.
Till he turned himself into a lizard. Then he tried to turn the whole city into lizards. It was crazy.
It wasn't crazy, Max. It was the next step in human evolution.
You know I can give you a real makeover.
Let me guess, into a lizard?
Exact.
In the Amazing Spider-Man movies, the lizard's whole plan was to evolve everyone into lizards. The whole idea with Kangs is that they're all born as Nathaniel Richards in the 30th century, so this Kang would have been born later in a timeline where the lizard was successful in his plan.
We knew we wanted to sort of just give a tiny taste of the potential of what some of these variants, these Kang variants are, and brief nods to Rama, Centurion, Immortus. Maybe not the prime versions, maybe they're variants of those versions, but just to sort of let Jonathan run and have some fun. But always my idea was let's end this thing with that classic panel of the Council of Kangs and do our version of that with all these different Jonathans. We knew weirdly, like Rama Tut, you know, just this sort of ancient Egyptian version in the comics was something that had potential, but then we sort of bent it a little bit and made him this very strange sort of bionic variant of Rama Tut. But we wanted to give 3 distinct feelings and set up the idea of now that Kang the Conqueror has met the fate he meets at the end of this movie, what does it mean for the larger sort of political body of Kangs, right? But sort of starting to get into sort of the political aspect of how the Kangs relate to each other, which I think holds really strong potential for Phase 5.
Speaking of Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, I just did a Venom 3 video talking about Easter eggs for those versions of Spider-Man. We will see Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire come back for Secret Wars. I don't know if they're going to be back for Avengers Kang Dynasty. Secret Wars is more of a multiverse Avengers movie where they pay off a lot of long-running Fox Marvel Easter eggs, Sony Marvel Easter eggs like older classic movies. So I do believe they have plans to bring back a lot of those classic actors, but most of that will be in Secret Wars. Speaking of the Council of Kangs, there was also a report that Shang-Chi 2, which they just put on the schedule, I believe it'll come out sometime before Secret Wars, we're going to see a bunch more Kang variants in that. They didn't say which Kang variants, just a couple of Kang variants, making it sound like Shang-Chi 2 will be a time travel-based movie. I'll do more videos about that when we get more details. We'll learn more about Loki Season 2 way before that. We'll start getting more trailers in the next couple of months. But most of their focus will be on teasing Loki Season 2 just because that's coming so soon. If you've been reading the Kang comics in the last couple of years too, they also did a storyline that's relatively similar to what they're doing in the MCU, where you have a prime version of Kang that eventually goes around killing the Council of Kangs. Like, they treat the Council of Kangs as a bunch of lesser Kang variants in there being a main Kang, which it kind of did during Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, with this version of Kang saying that he wanted to kill off the rest of the Council. That does make you wonder if this Kang variant is the one from the 616 Marvel Universe, because he remains said during Loki Season 1 that he wasn't the original Kang from this main MCU timeline. He was from another timeline and just wound up winning the Kang Multiverse War and then made this timeline supreme. We'll probably hear about more deleted scenes from the movie in the next couple of months. Sometimes it takes a little while to find out about some of that stuff. But reportedly, there were a bunch more scenes with the Freedom Fighters, and they had a much bigger arc during the movie with Cassie Lang's character. If you have any big questions or requests for bonus videos, just write them in the comments below. Big reminder that Mandalorian Season 3 episodes start next week too, and I'll be doing videos for all the episodes. Everyone click here for that new Venom 3 teaser, and click here for my Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania post-credit scenes video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.